Welcome to Haunted Midnight. Here are 3 true hotel horror stories. Before we get started, I am a new channel, and subscribing motivates me to carry on posting new content, as it takes a good amount of time browsing the internet to find the most interesting stories just for you. Thank you. I had just graduated college and was feeling lost about what I wanted to do with my life. So I decided to go backpacking through Southeast Asia for a few months to clear my head and figure things out. My first stop was Thailand. I arrived in Bangkok feeling both nervous and excited for this new adventure. I checked into a colorful hostel in the city center. That first night I sat alone in the common room, journaling about my thoughts and hopes for the trip. That's when I met Jack. He was Australian, with tanned skin, scruffy blonde hair, and light eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He sat down at the table with his dinner, and we ended up chatting for hours. Jack was on a similar journey, trying to find purpose after finishing university. We really connected over our shared experiences. The next day, we decided to team up and travel together for a while. After Thailand, Jack and I took an overnight train to Yangon, Myanmar. When we arrived at the station, I was hit with pangs of anxiety. This was my first time truly backpacking off the beaten path. But with Jack by my side, his upbeat attitude put me at ease. We wandered the streets of Yangon, taking in the dizzying sights and smells. When it came time to find a hotel, we were enticed by a place with seemingly rock-bottom prices. In retrospect, I should have seen the red flags. But I was too caught up in the moment, swept away by the dizzying freedom of travel and the growing connection with Jack. The young man at the front desk spoke limited English. When we asked about the cheap rates, he mentioned cryptically that several floors were closed for maintenance. I looked questioningly at Jack, who shrugged and said we'd probably never even see those floors. So we checked in, lulled into a false sense of security. Our room was basic with kitschy floral decor and questionable cleanliness. But we were running on the adrenaline of travel and adventure. We dropped our bags, then headed out to explore more of the city. That evening, Jack took me to a tiny family-run restaurant he had heard about. Over mouth-watering Burmese curry, we opened up more about our families, our hopes, our fears. I couldn't believe I had only met this fascinating person several days prior. Exhausted from a day of exploring, we headed back to the hotel. We fell into a deep slumber, oblivious to the terrors unfolding within those walls. The next morning, we went down to the lobby for the free breakfast, famished from our activities. The spread was dismal, stale toast and weak coffee. As we sat eating, I noticed a young German couple approach us cautiously. They asked if we had slept all right. Confused, we replied we had slept fine. What they shared next made my stomach drop. In the middle of the night, someone had pounded on their door and urgently told them in broken English they needed to move rooms right away. Half asleep, they gathered their belongings and moved down the hall. At breakfast, they had spoken to another guest who informed them the maintenance happening was fumigating for bugs, and they had accidentally been placed on one of the floors being gassed. Except instead of safely evacuating everyone while they did it, the staff had haphazardly moved people in the middle of the night once they realized their mistake. Tragically, though, they were too late for the couple next door, who had perished from the toxic fumes. I felt bile rising in my throat as details of the horrific incident spilled out. Jack, normally so laid back, had gone ghostly pale. We demanded to be moved to a new room immediately. The man at the front desk feigned ignorance at first, but eventually reluctantly found us another room, far from the sealed-off floor. On our way out, we passed by an area blocked off by chairs and caution tape. I felt faint thinking about the deaths that occurred beyond that barrier, separated only by chance from meeting the same fate. We left that place immediately, barely speaking as we rehashed how close we'd come to danger. In that moment, any romantic notions I had about Jack evaporated. We went our separate ways once we got home, shaken by our brush with mortality. I changed my travel plans and flew back to the States shortly after. The horrors I witnessed at that hotel opened my eyes. I realized I couldn't just blindly follow my whims. I needed to take responsibility for myself. It set me on a path of making careful choices guided by an intuition, not getting caught up in the moment. I'm grateful for the lessons it taught me, though I wish I had learned them a different way. I'll never forget how a carefree adventure of a first date turned into a harrowing near-death experience. All because I didn't listen to warning signs. Now I'm much more cautious, extensively researching hotels and not tempting fate by staying anywhere questionable just to save a little money. Life is too precious. These days, I'll take predictable lodging over a terrifying brush with death any time, even if that means sacrificing a bit of spontaneity. My time backpacking was eye-opening in many ways, though that ill-fated first date was certainly a horror story for the books. It was supposed to be an uneventful business trip, just a quick overnight stay in a sleepy town for a work conference, then back home the next day. I never could have imagined how horrifying that night would become and how close I would come to losing my life. The hotel looked so charming and quaint when I first pulled up. An old Victorian-style building with blooming flower boxes and a cozy front porch. Inside, the lobby was all polished dark wood, ornate rugs, and brass accents. It had an elegant vintage feel that I appreciated. The woman at the front desk greeted me cheerfully as I checked in, making friendly small talk about the weather and my conference. She assured me I'd be very comfortable and that it was a very secure hotel. I remember feeling so at ease. After a long day of seminars, I was drained and looking forward to a good night's rest. I ordered a BLT sandwich from room service, took a piping hot shower, and changed into my pajamas. As I sat in the king-sized bed with its soft goose-down comforter and piles of pillows, I thought about how lucky I was to have found such a charming place to stay. The mattress hugged my tired body, and I drifted off to sleep within minutes. I had no idea what time it was when I was startled awake by a loud rattling sound. Disoriented, it took me a moment to get my bearings. There was again a violent rattling coming from the door. My foggy mind initially thought I was dreaming, but the third time it happened, I knew something was very wrong. Adrenaline flooded my veins as I sat bolt upright, heartbeat thundering. Someone was messing with my door, trying to get in. The rattling continued, becoming more aggressive by the minute. I crept silently from the bed and tiptoed to the door, my whole body trembling. Kneeling down to peer through the peephole, I could see the shadowy outline of a large figure violently jimmying the handle, trying to force their way inside. I stumbled backwards, clamping my hand over my mouth to stifle a scream. Fumbling for the bedside phone, I tried dialing the front desk for help, but the line was dead. Next I tried 911, but that didn't work either. I was completely alone, no way to call for help with this stranger attempting to break into my room. Huddled by the bed, I prayed they would just go away. But the relentless pounding only grew more insistent. Any second now they were going to get that door open. I knew I had to escape. Spying the window on the other side of the room, I rushed over to find it opened onto a small decorative ledge with identical windows for the other guest rooms lined up on either side. My room was on the third floor, making the drop below dizzying, but it was my only option. The hotel was an old building with external ledges, intended to allow maintenance access between rooms. Hardly the width of a sidewalk and lacking any railing, it looked treacherous. I've always been terrified of heights, but hearing the intruder still trying to bust through the door, I knew I had to try. Heart lurching into my throat, I climbed out the window and shakily got my footing. The ledge felt narrow as a balance beam beneath my bare feet. Taking a deep breath, I inched sideways towards the next window, keeping my eyes fixed ahead, not daring to look down. Reaching the next window, I tapped frantically on the glass until a light came on inside. An elderly man appeared, confusion clouding his face. I gestured desperately back at my window, where the loud banging could still be heard inside my room. His eyes went wide with sudden understanding. He quickly unlocked his window and helped pull me inside to safety. We could hear the intruder still trying to get into my room as the man called hotel security. Within minutes, police had swarmed the building and apprehended the stalker, a mentally ill man who had become obsessed with me after seeing me speak at the conference. In the aftermath, I learned just how close I'd come to an unthinkable end. If not for that tiny external ledge allowing me to climb to the next room, things could have gone very differently. But in that moment of terror, some deep survival instinct took over that compelled me to escape out the window into the unknown instead of remaining trapped inside that room. I barely slept that night or any night for weeks after. The trauma of coming so close to being victimized shook me. It taught me dark things can happen anywhere, even charming country hotels. Now when I travel, I insist on upper floor rooms and always check for external fire escapes or balconies. I never again ignore warning signs or that inner voice telling you something feels wrong, no matter how friendly a place appears on the surface. But that horrific night also showed me that when faced with danger, I can summon the courage and resolve to save myself instead of freezing. Though I hope to never relive such an ordeal, it revealed an inner well of strength I'll always be grateful for. It was a trip like any other. I was traveling for a work conference and took an evening flight to arrive the night before it started. Finding my seat on the crowded plane, I ended up next to a gentleman who struck up polite conversation. We exchanged names and business cards as the flight took off. He was well-dressed and friendly. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just two professionals making small talk to pass the time. After landing, I gathered my things and headed to pick up my rental car to drive to the hotel. It was late and I was tired from traveling, so I quickly checked in and went to my room with just my overnight bag. I had booked a standard king room on the 5th floor. It was reasonably nice, nothing fancy but clean and comfortable, with a large bed, dresser, desk, and small sitting chair. I unpacked a bit and then ordered room service, wanting to relax after the long trip. I had just settled in to watch TV when the room phone startled me with its loud, shrill ring around 10 p.m. Calling the front desk to ask who was calling so late, I was utterly shocked when they told me my husband had just arrived asking for a key to my room. I immediately responded that they must be mistaken, as I didn't have a husband. But they insisted a man claimed to be my husband and gave my room number, demanding to be allowed up. My mind was reeling. Who could possibly be trying to get into my room by posing as my husband? Then a chilling thought hit me. It must be the friendly gentleman from the plane earlier that evening. I still had his business card in my purse, so I quickly checked the name. Sure enough, it matched what the front desk said the man had given them. This realization sent me into a panic. I asked the front desk to please call security right away and to not give this stranger a key no matter what story he told. They'd assured me security was on the way and that the man had just angrily left after being denied a key, nearly slamming into an elderly couple walking through the lobby in the process. My heart was pounding as I hung up the phone. Unsure what to do, I first latched the door's deadbolt and chain. I then scanned the room to barricade the door further, pushing the heavy dresser in front of it. I tried taking deep breaths to stay calm, but my mind was racing with fear about this unknown man now being aware of my room number and location. Why had he specifically targeted my room? What did he want? It felt like an eternity before hotel security arrived, though it was probably only 10 minutes or so. I opened the door cautiously with the chain still latched to explain what had happened. Two uniformed security guards took down all the details and said they would review hotel surveillance footage to try and identify the man. They also assured me they would be increasing patrols throughout the night. Not long after, I received a call from the front desk, letting me know a police officer had arrived to take my statement. I again unlatched the door to speak with him, recounting the entire bizarre and terrifying situation. He was very concerned by the stranger's behavior and said they would put out an alert to try and locate him. After assuring me I would be safe for the remainder of the night, he left to review security footage. I barely slept, tossing and turning while listening for any strange sounds in the hallway. When I did eventually drift off from pure exhaustion, I had terrible nightmares of the man breaking into my room. I'd startle awake in a panic at any creaks or groans of the building settling. As daylight finally started peeking through the curtains, I was extremely on edge, but also relieved to have made it through the night unharmed. In the morning, I cautiously went to the lobby to check in with the front desk staff again. They said security had not spotted the man overnight, though guards remained posted at all entrances and floors as a precaution. Given my state of anxiety, the staff graciously offered to move me to another room in case the stranger had taken note of my original room number. I readily accepted. The new room was on the 3rd floor, but otherwise identical. However, Even the change of scenery did little to calm my frayed nerves. I ended up missing the first morning session of the conference because detectives arrived to take my statement again and get any other details I could remember. They said the man's actions implied unstable and dangerous intentions, and that they were actively working to identify and apprehend him. For the remainder of my trip, I was constantly looking over my shoulder whenever I left my room, even just to go to the hotel restaurant or lobby. I kept expecting to see the man around every corner. At night, I again barricaded and latched the door, jumping at the slightest noise despite the guard outside my door. I barely ate or slept until I was finally able to check out and head home. I'm eternally grateful the stranger never succeeded in actually getting inside my room during that horrifying hotel ordeal. But the chilling experience left me anxious and fearful of solo hotel stays for a very long time after. I'll never again make the mistake of casually chatting up strangers while traveling alone. You truly never know someone's intentions until they reveal their disturbing true colors. This was one hard lesson in being too quick to trust a seemingly friendly stranger. If you enjoyed these stories, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you had similar encounters, please share your experiences too. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe as it supports me a lot.